Can we have some noise here, please? Yes, that's a little better. I am to be here this evening and to have this platform to converse with you. Much to your disappointment and maybe to your delight, I have to tell you that there's no enlightenment that I'm going to give you. Okay? Rather, it's going to be quite lightening in the sense that I suppose at the end of it you will all feel quite light, that you are not overloaded with any kind of new gyan or new worries. But all the same, that title of this small speech that's going to be there from my side is quite foreboding actually. So while the theme of this event is about celebration, is about all the wonderful things that we are doing, all of that is there, but it becomes even better and even more enjoyable once you get into the depth. Something like this, you dirty your feet and then you are able to come out of it and you can thump your chest, pat your back and say that, yeah, we can do this, it's not a problem, we are good enough to get over this. So a little bit about my background. I see a lot of people here who are my friends and possibly they remember where I come from, but for all those who are meeting me for the first time, for the longest time, that is for nearly 38 years, I have been teaching at the School of Planning and Architecture, New Delhi. But besides that, I have also been practicing as an architect, and we have partly done some work in Guwahati and in other places in Assam also, though I cannot really tell that my company is the architect of those projects. But yes, some of the work that we did does reflect in what's existing today. So we leave it at that. This is actually one of my pet subjects. So while we are all the time in our architectural practices and in our architectural schools, always talking about what are those new wonderful forms that we as architects can create, oftentimes we forget that whatever dreams we have are mostly predicated upon whatever are the materials we have in mind. So when we have certain materials in mind, then certain forms come out. Because for us, anything which has got to be created will be created with material, and we cannot divorce our imagination from what the reality will be. And therefore, when we imagine anything, we also imagine what it will be made of. And hence my little submission here, you can say, is about building materials, the looming crisis. Can we have the presentation on, please? So these are some things which I will touch upon. So as you can see, the top half is what I call the reality check, and the bottom half is about the way forward. So the reality check is again something which all of you know, all of you think about. It's nothing new that I'm going to tell you. No new startling facts are going to come out. You probably think about it all the time. And then again, when we are talking about the way forward, again there will not be any wonderful new things, because if there had been new things happening which I was to stand here and tell you, I would already have got the Nobel Prize, which I haven't. Right? So there you are. So I'm basically going to reinforce an ideas which are always in your mind, but you don't take them seriously unless somebody speaks to you like that on the television or in a show. So the reality check is that we as a population of human beings is growing. We are 8 billion today, and the startling fact is, according to the World Bank, they say that by 2050, when we are 9.6 billion, it will take 3 planet Earths to satisfy our needs according to our present ways. So the lifestyle we have, and this is an average of all over the world, if we just keep on going like this, then by the next 27 years, we would have to produce 2 more Earths. Which I think is the spur for people to go and explore Mars. Who knows, it might be a better place than we have here. %11% of all the energy that is produced and consumed goes into the production of building materials. So the production of building materials itself is a very, very big chunk of the energy that we consume. And today the thrust is not on designing in buildings which use up less energy, but I'm talking about buildings which use up materials which consume high energy. That is the thrust today. 50% of all the global concrete, brick, steel, they are poured into buildings. They don't go into bridges, they don't go into dams, they don't go into silos. They are going into buildings. So much of material that we produce goes into constructing buildings. So friends, this is one of those very interesting things. You can make a note, go home and proudly announce it over the dinner table, and everybody will be startled. Okay? So we consume metals equal to all the metal in the Eiffel Tower. Every 3 minutes we consume so much. Now please do your calculation of how many minutes are there in a year, and you will know how many Eiffel Towers we are making in a year. The point is, to what avail? Kyun? Why? So much of cement that would fill up this pool, 50 meters by 20 meters by 1.5 meters deep, every 15 seconds. So if your phones are still in calculator mode, go ahead and do the multiplication again. So much of cement we are consuming. And of course, where is all this cement and where is all this metal coming out of? It is coming out of this earth, the crust on which we are living. 50% of all the waste generated, everything, including pizza boxes, all the waste generation, and this is a figure from Europe, 50% of that comes from the building industry. So it seems waste is one of those important things that we make besides making buildings. So this is the crisis that I'm talking about. That there is going to be resource depletion because all of the things that we take out from the earth, nothing, absolutely nothing we ever put back. And the earth is big, no doubt. For so many things, it's not even possible today to estimate how much of it is there. But if we just calculate, from the time that we are able to calculate, we will be confronted with the enormous numbers that we have already taken out and which are now sitting on top of the surface of the earth, and they have no chance to ever going back into the holes where they came from. And if we keep on going like this, we will be taking out more and more and more and more. And now what will happen? Someday the earth's crust will sink, So this resource depletion is our crisis. Now you can say, but we don't see this crisis. Nobody is, having any problem. Everybody is having win-win. The mining companies are mining, the transporters are transporting, the processors are processing, the distributors are distributing, the suppliers are selling, and the users are buying. And the clients are happy that they can get the stuff. And now you can not only get the stuff close to where it was mined from, but you can get it all over. You can get marble from Italy. You can get wood from Finland. So you can get stuff from anywhere. We are actually so thrilled about it. Are we bothered? No, we just bill our clients. The clients have no alternative. So they pay. And so what happens? The aggregate keeps getting crushed and keeps causing pollution. If not in Delhi, then wherever it is getting crushed. We are not affected, but people close to the crushers 100 kilometers away from Delhi, they are affected. Okay? So as long as it is not in our backyard, we don't care about the building materials problem. What is this sustainable development we keep talking about? I'm sure once a day you must come across this word somewhere or the other, sustainable. Right? So sustainable is only this, that whatever we are doing, we have to do it without compromising the ability of our future generations to do it. So we should not close their options by doing something wrong today. Greenhouse gas emissions from the various sectors are compared here in this chart. Okay? And there is energy used in buildings at the bottom, which is 17.5%. And there is energy used in industry at 24.2%, out of which 7.2% is of the iron and steel industry, which is mainly going into buildings and automobiles. Big percentage. This gives us an idea of where all these emissions are going to be in the period up to 2060. Those are all the materials we use in buildings: concrete, steel, brick, aluminium, glass, wood, copper. Why this graphic is important is that it's giving us startling numbers, which once they settle into our mind will probably prick our conscience. So you can see the numbers of how many teragrams of carbon dioxide equivalents all of these materials together are going to give us. Now you can see we are already very high at 2020. So by 2060, if it rises by this much, you can say just about 1 teragram, what big difference will it make? Just imagine what is 1 teragram. 1 teragram is 1 gram to the power of 12. It is 1 million metric tons of additional carbon dioxide that we are producing. There is something interesting over there. Okay? Why it is interesting? You see in 2020 what is happening, and in 2060 see what is happening. At the moment, the lower and the lower middle income people are having a less percentage of contribution in greenhouse gas production. As we go forward, they will be having a much bigger contribution. The middle class will have less. Upper middle class, that is probably because their minds would have woken up to the fact, and hopefully they will be producing or polluting less. That's the only way I can explain it. That one in the bottom right hand corner is interesting because somewhere in the middle is China. You can see the light blue bar, and to the right of it is India with the dark blue bar. Alright, this is for the entire national average. So China goes into the upper middle and India goes into the lower middle, and you can see the comparison of how much more India is going to contribute to greenhouse gas emissions. And today our populations are nearly equal. Right? But the interesting things is that populations are equal. But what about population density? How many people are living on 1 square kilometer? So India's population density is 3 times of China's. India's population density is about 478 persons per square kilometer nationally. and China's is 143. For the same number of people, China has 3 times the area to exploit natural resources. So you can say our crisis, if it comes, is going to come much faster than it comes to China. So if there is an imperative to mend our ways, for us it is 3 times more urgent. And here you are, which is the last one, the orange line, the warning line. You can see that going forward, our emissions are going to keep on rising and China's is going to keep on dropping. Why? Because Chinese are inventive. They are doing the research, they are not telling the world. Just like they didn't tell what was going on in Wuhan, but there are other labs all over China which are researching into how to reduce this. And with that, they will be very soon, by 2030, they will start implementing those strategies. And there is manufacturing and construction. So you can see that it is going to be rising in this order. We emit a lot more in mining of materials, in transportation, in manufacturing, and then combining of chemical products, which is right on site. That is our processes that we use. They actually give emissions even as we are mixing concrete, even as we are mixing paint. We are creating those emissions. Our processes which we have never thought about as harmful in any way, they are actually contributing to all of this. This graphic, of course, is mostly about America, but some things are common. There you are, concrete, 1/3 of all the carbon comes from the concrete. The second contributor is insulation, which in India our buildings don't have, but you can say insulation can be replaced by brickwork. That's what our walls are really used for. And the structural component, surprisingly, which in those buildings is just about steel, mostly, or wood, is very, very low. In homes it is very low. We have always known these facts, and we have always had our system figured out by which we don't do stupid things. And somehow, over the last 500 years, ever since industrialization happened in the West, it has been contagious and it has made us forget all our evolved wisdom. So while I'm not saying that please go back home and stop everything that you are doing at home because all of this is causing a problem. No, it cannot be like that. But surely there are a lot of things which we think back we can change by not just foolishly continuing to do the same. And so we just built. I was told that Guwahati very soon is going to have the longest elevated road in India. Why? Because flyovers solve all the problems. And material to make the flyover, not a problem. I have some experience with building flyovers, so I can tell you, a flyover never solves the problem, it just displaces the problem from here to there. That's all it does. But if this is not something to be done, how is it going to get stopped? It is going to get stopped like it got stopped in Bengaluru. Because the citizens got together and stopped it from happening. There is something we can do about it. This is the very famous Ghazipur garbage mountain. Many a government in Delhi has got elected on this very promise. Within 30 days of getting elected, hum ye mountain khatam karwa denge. And of course the same chief minister after 5 years makes the same promise again. We fall for it every time. So who knows, if it doesn't actually get decimated, in 1 million years, iska bhi pahad ka pathar ban jayega. That's how all the rocks of this world have got formed. Some little fire will keep on burning inside it, and the materials will keep getting transformed. And slowly, 1 million years, not very long, will get transformed into a rock. Or then we will go to the rock and we will actually mine building material from it. But we don't have to wait for a billion years. It is things like this which cannot be put back into the earth that we need to use to make our building materials. And you know that rock? It looks quite similar. That rock is actually worshipped in Australia. This is what is happening today, right now, even as I speak to you. This is farm stubble being burnt. Farm stubble has got the same elements, absolutely the same elements that all of our building materials have. Most of our building materials have, except the metals. What is that? It's basically carbon and nitrogen. So why do we just need to burn it off? Create smoke. That smoke chokes people, and some it chokes to death. Instead, the same farm stubble can actually contribute building material. Where would the problem be? The problem would be that it would still be inflammable. That is the problem that we need to solve. And then there is this. So there are things which we already have, which we can convert into building material. And then there are things which we can actually grow. It's a very hardy plant. It grows without much care, with very little water. And all of it, almost all parts of that plant can actually lead us to building materials. The stem of the hemp plant is even harder than stone aggregate, and therefore is an abundant replacement for digging it out of mountains. We don't have to dig stone from mountains and crush it. We can actually grow hemp, and 1 year old hemp plant can give us just first class aggregate. That's actually a house claimed to be the first hempcrete house in the country, which is being built now. It's about 1.5 years old. It's being built by one of my students who's very seriously involved in this and promoting this. And this is a showcase. The whole idea was to actually do it and show that it can be done. And you can hire this house. It's a homestay, not very costly, 2,500 rupees a night. The only thing is that it involves about half an hour of trekking up the mountain from Rishikesh. No roads there. In Assam. And that's a beautiful structure which is just being created out of bamboo. So if we are able to do this, this is what our clients should be attracted to and enticed with. Our creativity with all the things that we are doing or have been using traditionally. Who am I to come here from Delhi and tell you that you should use bamboo or how you should use it? You already know this. All I am saying is that don't let your city become another Navi Mumbai. There are things like this happening all over the country. The architect of this, I suppose, was here some time back. This is a mud brick dome. You can see how big a dome it is and how much load it is carrying. Yes, so it's possible. Lots of things are possible with very, very basic materials. These are sun-dried, earth-stabilized mud blocks. Of course, here we see, these are some examples of PD contractors' work, who's a champion of mud buildings. But yes, these things are getting done. Now maybe Assam is not the right place to do mud buildings. So in every place, the appropriate material can be used. It does not everywhere has to be the CPWD schedule of rates which has to apply, and the materials therein have to apply. Why should it be the same all over the country when the resources everywhere are different? These are further things which are all using biofiber construction technologies. Now we found a good name for this. So all the wood, all the bamboo, all the straw bales, all the stubble, all the husk, all the hemp, all of these things which we can actually convert to building material by growing them, are all classified as biofiber based building materials. We can actually grow them. So if farmers find it difficult, or rather do not have the MSP to grow paddy or whatever, they can go into other cash crops and then of course there are bottles you can see. So let us not forget this. So minimize new extraction and leverage material properties. The glass bottle, apart from using up the waste, is a great heat trap. So all the heat outside, once it enters into the glass bottle, cannot get transmitted to the other side. Now think of it as something highly scientific, not just some artistic innovation. These are some common strategies, very simple strategies, all of which we know, except that there can be a time target to all of this. So 7 steps, M7. This is of course coming from some authorized source. But yes, it's a demonstration of what is possible. These are again things which you know about and you are doing it also. Many of you are also building these buildings. So these are 2 examples here which I have shown. So this one of course is again by one of my students who's practicing in this region, all made of bamboo. So on the left hand side is the biofiber based materials, and those are all based on extracted materials. What is the difference? The difference is that the processing is less. So we don't need great factories to do those things, even though the material may be extracted from the earth. 4 things. Use and promote environmentally friendly construction materials and energy efficiency buildings. And then the last 5 words. Actually, I should have colored them differently. Get your clients on board. So let it not happen that way. This is 2 things which should inspire us. So on the one side is a weaver bird's nest, which is made out of all dried twigs, which is biofiber based material. And the weaver bird didn't do any processing. The weaver bird just picked up dried twigs. And how had they dried? They had dried naturally with the heat and the sun. On the other side is the termite mound. And they don't do any processing either. With the earth on the ground only, they just keep creating these amazingly complex structures in which everything is there. There is cross ventilation, there is humidity, there is food processing going on inside. An entire ecosystem, an entire town of termites exists in something as simple. So whether we grow or whether we extract, we can do it in harmony with nature. But what it requires is those 4 things to be nestled in our thinking. Every being has an interesting ability to seek or build their shelter. Everyone can do it. Ants can do it, termites can do it, bugs can do it, bears can do it, lions can do it, snakes can do it, human beings can do it. Every shelter will take away a piece from nature to be processed. Yes, even these biofiber things, they take away something from nature, very small. Just a little bit of water, just a little bit of moisture, just some nutrients, and then they become plants. Every shelter built should be assessed for what it gives back in return. This is the big question. Earth here is all ice, and the home of the human being is also ice. So it has nothing to melt into because it is itself. That is perfection.